What if I told you there's a formula that could predict every Super Bowl winner before the game is even played? Sounds crazy, right? We created and tested this formula for every Super Bowl in the last 20 years, and it not only beat Vegas, it was 100% accurate. Now, before we jump in, please know that this is for fun and not advice for betting purposes. Because it's Super Bowl week, we thought we'd take a quick break from our sports documentaries and do a fun experiment, and what we found is pretty neat, and on some levels, pretty incredible. Using educated guesses and our friend ChatGPT, we set out to create a Super Bowl prediction formula. Then, we took that formula and ran it for the last 20 Super Bowls. To our astonishment, it accurately predicted the winner every single time. We'll show you how we did it and then use it to predict the winner of this week's Super Bowl. Again, this is for fun and not advice. We have more great football stories in the works. Make sure you subscribe. Now, before we started, we wondered how good was Vegas at predicting the Super Bowl winner in the last 20 years. Well, not very good. In fact, the favorite team only covered the spread about 30% of the time and won outright only 45% of the time. So, we figured it was a low bar. Next, we asked ChatGPT for the common traits of every single Super Bowl winner. Here are the 5 common traits it came up with: elite quarterback play, dominant defense, dynamic playmakers, exceptional coaching, clutch or game-changing moments. We then asked it to test this formula on the last 20 Super Bowls. And make sure you check Chat's results. So what did we find? Well, this formula didn't just work, it was 100% accurate. Holy crap, let's hit Vegas. Well, not so fast. If you look at the formula, clutch or game-changing moments seemed pretty subjective, and with the benefit of history can be easily manipulated. So back to the drawing board. We didn't have to start over, it was really just that one subjective factor. So we then asked ChatGPT to replace game-changing moments with another more objective factor. It gave us offensive line strength, quarterback performance in close games, fourth quarter and overtime stats, turnover differential, and special teams efficiency. Out of these, we picked offensive line strength, and yes, we know that it can be somewhat subjective, but over the course of an entire season, we found that ChatGPT can use analytics effectively to give a fair score. Looking back on it, turnover differential might have been a more objective stat, but we'll come back to this one in a minute. Alright, now that we're using offensive line strength, let's rerun the results. These results were still better than Vegas, but not by much. We also noticed that there were 5 ties, meaning both opponents scored the same number of traits. So we asked ChatGPT to use a weighted scale instead of this binary type of scale for each category. This way, if one team had a really big advantage in one category, that would be factored in. This new weighted formula was a little better at a 75% winning percentage. But can we make it better? Let's try a 6th factor. From these options, we decided to try turnover differential. As we started to run the results for each year, it looked great. Even the binary formula seemed to work when adding a 6th factor, except we started to see some ties. It never lost, but there were ties. So let's try the weighted formula. After we checked 5 years in a row, the new 6th factored weighted formula was perfect. So we let ChatGPT run it for the last 20 years to see if we found our formula. When the data came out, we were astonished. We found it. We found it. Wait, take a look at Super Bowl 52. Are you kidding me? We haven't seen a single tie using any weighted method ever, and there's a tie? Ugh. We asked ChatGPT if maybe the calculations could be inaccurate. After it reran the calculations, it was still a tie. It then suggested that maybe we should have a tiebreaker and offered up some suggestions. From this list, we thought red zone efficiency was a good objective category. Plus, we like the name red zone. So, what happened when we applied the tiebreaker? Well, the formula accurately predicted the Eagles should win Super Bowl 52, which they did, even though the Patriots were 4.5-point favorites.
Directly to Clement. Clement reverses it. And the pass goes into the end zone. And it is a touchdown by Nick Foles.
All right, we got it. The ultimate formula to predict the Super Bowl champions. An obvious question might be, why can't we use this formula for every game? Well, you can, but the Super Bowl is the final game of the season and has the most data. And obviously our formula will be more accurate the more games it can use in its calculations. So for fun, let's try some of the biggest upsets in Super Bowl history to see if our formula holds up. For Super Bowl 32 in 1998, the Green Bay Packers were 11-point favorites over John Elway and the Denver Broncos. At the time, the NFC had won 13 straight Super Bowls, and Green Bay was the defending champs. Well, Vegas got it wrong, and John Elway won his first Super Bowl. But our formula predicts an easy win for the Broncos with these scores. Okay, let's try something even harder. In 1969, the Baltimore Colts were 18-point favorites over Joe Namath and the New York Jets. Remember this one? Broadway Joe guaranteed a Jets victory, which was big news because at the time, the AFL was considered inferior to the NFL. Obviously, Vegas got it wrong because it was a huge upset as the Jets beat the Colts in Super Bowl III, 16-7. And once again, our formula predicts a Jets win. So, let's run it for this year's game. ChatGPT gave the Chiefs the following scores. Elite QB play, 100. Dominant defense, 75. Dynamic playmakers, 90. Exceptional coaching, 100. Offensive line, 90. Turnover differential, 85. Giving the Chiefs a total score of 540. For the Eagles, it gave the following scores. Elite QB play, 95. Dominant defense, 90. Dynamic playmakers, 95. Exceptional coaching, 90. Offensive line, 95. Turnover differential, 75 for a total score of 540. Well, okay, we prepared for this. Who's better in the red zone? There you have it. See you in Disney World, Philadelphia. While our success with this formula is outstanding, no formula is going to be 100% accurate, but maybe it can be used to identify opportunities for upsets. Maybe we'll take this with us to our March Madness office pool and see how we do. So, what do you think? Does this formula crack the code to predict Super Bowl winners? Drop your predictions in the comments and let's see if we can stay 100% accurate. See you next time, and oh, go Eagles, I guess.